And with that, it's my delight to have Rosemary Hyde, who is helping me and a couple of other people to define a new concept of leadership. She is a Unity minister, and she is being part of Unity Montreal now and speaks on a monthly basis, and is each one, Reverend Gator and Reverend Hyde, have a specific passion. I really mean that, because to me, having a passion is part of my life, finding my soul's purpose. I got to find what energizes me, what enlightens me, what lifts me, what makes me want to dig deeper. So each one of these Unity ministers has a specific passion, and Rosemary has hers. And she's been talking to us about level of awareness and linking that with our Lenten series on Wednesday. I mean, but I give you now Rosemary Hyde, who will take the service from here. Thank you so much, Rosemary, for being again with you. And now, I get the feeling that sometimes you have a lot going on in your life. And so being with us on Sunday on a regular basis is extra work. But I hope it is energizing work. Okay.
Thank you, Maya. It is extremely powerfully energizing work. And that's why I'm doing it. So today, I'm going to talk about bad events. We all have experienced what have seemed like really bad things happening in our lives and in other people's lives. And one of the big questions that people ask, that I've asked, is, okay, I forgot who the teacher was who said, why do bad things happen to good people? But that's the basic question, right? Hey, I didn't do anything to deserve this. Why did it happen to me? And certainly we were all in that place right now with the Ukrainians. What did they do to deserve that? Holy cow. So I'm putting bad in quotation marks because it's a judgment. It's a third dimension judgment. We figure if it hurts and if it's, damaging and extremely unpleasant, then it's bad. But that's a judgment. And a hallmark of the third dimension of the physical world is that every judgment has a polar opposite. We've talked about this before. And I did remember what Marvin Anderson said on Wednesday about polarity. He said it doesn't necessarily have to mean duality, which is a very interesting statement. Polar opposites are actually two sides of the same coin. Every single idea that has its opposite, both opposites are the same idea. They're just different aspects, different experiences of it. Although we think that opposites are horribly opposite. They're dramatically opposite. They couldn't possibly be the same thing, like good and bad. They are in fact aspects of the same thing. And if we go into the next higher dimension, into the fourth dimension where the polarities go away, all there is love. And it's neither good nor bad. It just is. So I have to say that the last couple of weeks, last 2 or 3 weeks, this month of March has been full of bad things happening. Apparently bad things. Nancy, my wife, and I both got a horrible stomach virus. I mean, sort of like just about one of the 5 or 6 worst things I've ever had in my life. And it started out with Nancy. She's the one who got it first. We have no idea how or where. We didn't know it was a virus. She just started vomiting and having diarrhea. And after 3 days, we had to call the ambulance and have her brought to the hospital for IV fluids. She was like going down fast. And so that when we finally got her rehydrated after wonderful care in the ambulance and in the hospital, and we got back home, lo and behold, 3 hours later, I started exactly the same way. It was like, oh no, okay, it's a virus. And I'd better figure out, I mean, I knew what was coming down the pike. I better figure out how to keep enough fluids inside me so I don't have to go to the hospital in an ambulance. I learned to respect ice chips. They actually rehydrate. I always thought they were, lip service, but I didn't end up having to go to the hospital because I was chewing on them constantly. And so, that I'll talk about it a little bit more, but it felt bad. That's all I can say. And of course, at the same time, if we turned on the television, what we were seeing on the television was going from bad to worse with the fighting in Ukraine. But I knew as a unitic, after decades of unity practice, okay, I don't have to think of this in bad terms. I knew that. Wasn't really able to think very much, I have to say. So fortunately, I have a lot of unity friends, and they informed each other. And so both Nancy and I kept getting emails and texts with beautiful affirmations in them. And it was really interesting. Like I said, I have not mostly had the experience in my adult life of being that sick. I could not imagine anything else. I was incapable. I knew that I needed somehow to be open to a positive way of thinking, but I couldn't do it. And so every text, every email that we received, I could feel the positive energy. And it gave me an opportunity to say, yes, I'm in, so it is. And that was how I was able to keep my mind focusing sporadically on wholeness, on what I knew was really true. And of course, I was tempted to to feel sorry for myself, to get mad. What did we do to deserve this? We hadn't gone out even. I suspect it probably came in as a contamination in food from a restaurant. But anyway, it was not something that we had done anything to expect. And, it was like, geez, get hit by a bus. You don't even have to go out of your house. And I knew, okay, I don't really want to go there. I don't want to think about this. So I really appreciated the prayers and the affirmations and the positive statements and the reminders of wholeness and health and systems working well together that I could, sort of grab onto and be pulled along by. But it made me realize that energetically is how, when somebody is really suffering, as prayer team members, as people, as chaplains, as prayer chaplains, how we help them when they can't really help themselves. And that was, I found that a very useful thing to have experienced. I'm grateful to have experienced it. And what I was feeling was energy, positive energy, loving energy. And wow, that was, although it was intangible, it was palpable. I could feel it. And so, I really became more aware during this time of how when we engage in affirmations, when we engage in thoughts that are spiritual, that are higher dimension thoughts, that those go out from us, and people who receive them really feel the energy, the positive energy of that. I knew that, but this time I felt it, which is a very different experience. So in a way, I'm very grateful to have had that bad experience. So we could say that in the non-physical, everything that we say, feel, and think radiates outward from us. And anybody who is in the path of, receiving it, receives it. We don't know who they are. We don't know the people who we've helped in thinking positively, in making positive affirmations, in caring enough to write or talk to someone who is in pain. In fact, Anna's little boy picture there is a wonderful image of what it feels like, even if we're not in the best place physically, what it feels like to receive love vibrating from others. And it's something that we can know, that in the spiritual arena, our loving thoughts work similarly to vocal or sound vibrations in the physical dimension. I happened upon this week a little article written by a colleague who's named Mike Davis. He's the spiritual leader and the music leader of Unity of the Mountains in Blairsville, Georgia, which I have never seen on the map, but it's a lively unity ministry. And he taught as a musician and shared with us this statement that really struck me. Quote, "When you play a single note on a stringed instrument like a violin or a guitar, or I have here a dulcimer, can you hear the resonance, the after vibrations?"
Are you on screen?
Am I on screen? I think I am.
Yeah, but Are you sharing the screen?
Oh, no, I'm not.
Okay.
I don't usually share the screen when I
Okay.
speak because I like seeing people.
No,
You know, I'm talking to people.
I know.
So
Want
it's
to see-
wonderful to see
Right.
people, but this is what the dulcimer looks like that I just plucked.
Okay.
And he says, when you pluck a string, it sets in motion a series of related notes called the Harmonic Series. These notes extend to infinity. In the same way, our bodies, minds, and spirits can be in tune, in touch with God, dancing molecules and atoms, spinning and vibrating in their own space. In the quantum world, nothing is solid, and our perceptions change what we are perceiving. I choose wholeness, in tuneness. I choose health, systems vibrating together harmoniously. With that one sentence, I want us to really think about our perceptions change what we're perceiving. This is a proven scientific statement. And so what we choose to perceive in a situation is very important because of the harmonic energy of our spirit resonating, vibrating outward from us, being susceptible to being received by everyone and everything in its pathway. So when I was sick, I experienced this resonance with others, affirmations of wholeness, helping me to get my systems vibrating together again. It was powerful. It illustrates how prayer team members help others by holding visions of wholeness for them because of the harmonic resonance of our spiritual vibrations vibrating and resonating out from us into not space, but into infinity freely. The other place, of course, so going from the personal to the global, where the whole world right now is feeling cacophony, disharmony right in our guts, is with what's going on in Ukraine. And what apparently, the news is really important. We forget about what's going on in places when somebody doesn't remind us about them, or our senses don't remind us about them. There are other places where Russia is also fighting in countries that are not Russia. 2 weeks ago, we said we need to send love to Vladimir Putin, and this is still true. But let's think about these vibrations and dig a little bit deeper to think of the instrument strings, the thoughts that are vibrating across the world, and how we can add our harmonious thoughts into, project, vibrate into the global situation. Quantum physics studies the action of phenomena like waves, particles, photons, ions, things we can't see, and how they affect each other. And these physical elements follow a process that also exists in the spiritual dimensions the saying, as above, so below, or in this case, as below, so above. If the first one's true, the second one has to be true also. When conscious connection occurs, it brings greater harmony. It's just true. So I'm thinking about the tune-up moments that precede a Philharmonic Orchestra concert. The oboe plays A. Cacophony briefly ensues as every other instrument plays its individual A. But the musicians desire harmony, and as a result, like magic, the notes played by everyone soon merge into a pure single tune. The musicians come into tune. Their energy radiates harmony. We as human beings living in the world, we are programmed for harmony, for love. As we come together in a situation, we carry compassion as our essential tuning fork. In the great cauldron of disharmony that we're presently experiencing worldwide with the Russian invasion of Ukraine, we're better connected than ever before during such aggressions. Technically, we can communicate live with each other everywhere, individually, in real time. For the first time ever, this has never happened before, this technology. So what we experience happening in the global discussion of the events in Ukraine is much more like the orchestra tuning process than we've ever seen previously in our world during a time of war. The notes are slowly coming into alignment. Much of the world is united in supporting Ukraine. That in itself is like miraculous. If you think about the start of World War I, World War II, people didn't have that kind of awareness. That type of communication wasn't available. And they couldn't hear the note from the country that became the victim, that was attacked. There was no feedback loop. So in the intervening 75, 80 years, the advance of technology has assisted our advancing awareness of each other in the world. Wednesday evening on a tape recording, Marvin Anderson, the one-time pastor of this congregation, advised us to be curious and interested, and to take the time to observe what is happening around us within the spiritual dimensions. Thinking about our 12 powers and about how we use them to create what we want in the world, the evolution of the situation in Ukraine is providing us an interesting case history. Ukrainian President Zelensky has so far single-handedly pretty much changed the experience of his country. His leadership might be seen as miraculous. He was a TV comedian who got to rehearse being the president of Ukraine in a sitcom. And then somehow he got elected the real president. But his approval rating before the invasion was less than 25%. It was a disaster. as you might perhaps expect. But somehow, in response to the Russian invasion, he's been demonstrating an impressive power of leadership and inspiration within the spiritual context of a country that has decided it will not be victimized. We are not victims. That's the passage from the first to the second level of awareness. Among the loving thoughts and actions Ukraine is receiving from others worldwide, many are third dimensional, concrete ways of helping: food, lodging, clothing, armaments. In our awareness of spiritual oneness, we can also vibrate with love and harmony and radiate that spiritual energy to our Ukrainian brothers and sisters and to those people in countries surrounding Ukraine who are on the front line of refugee assistance. We can expect transformation to result. That is how the world is going to change. Still in question, do we have enough yet of people who are aware that they can think harmonious thoughts and project those vibrations? We don't know yet. But whenever this conflict does resolve, it is going to be a major change in the possibility of war against other people. That's really what we are assisting at, what we are participating in. And the Ukrainians are physically standing in for us. But it is our strong desire for a higher consciousness, a peaceful consciousness, that they are fighting for. And they're aware of that. So, in joining our loving hearts with those of others envisioning peace, we can help those in Ukraine to succeed in repelling the idea of victimhood for themselves. And we can also help to bring about the eventual shift in human consciousness to a state where declaring war against anyone else even seems potentially desirable. We've made a lot of progress and we're still making it. And it's important for each of us to prayerfully send our awareness of fourth dimension peace and love and keep broadcasting. So I'd like to invite you now to join me in meditation. I'm going to try an experiment. I haven't tried this on Zoom, but it should work. Thinking about, what works on Zoom and what doesn't. This should work. And so I'm going to ask you to unmute. And I'm going to ask us to chant Om together. What gets disharmonized on Zoom are the starts and the stops. And if we all just keep chanting, it shouldn't make any difference. So let's see, if it turns out to be awful, we'll stop. So your microphones are open, and I'd like to ask you to start slowing your breathing, becoming mindful of how each inspiration and expiration feels in your nostrils and in your abdomen. In, out. In, out. In, out. More and more deeply and slowly and peacefully. Now, imagine plucking your spiritual A string. Feel and hear the vibrations of that one note and the harmonizing vibrations of the many other notes, the overtones that the one sets off. Know that your vibrations are radiating clearly and powerfully away from you in all directions. And now join me in toning the syllable Om. Keep renewing it as each breath runs out, and hear how our notes vibrate together and how that energy sustains us as one. Now, and stop chanting whenever you feel guided. And in the ensuing silence, close your eyes and feel the after effects of the vibrations that we have just shared. We're feeling the power of harmonious energy permeating all of us at the same moment. Imagine now that when you focus your mind on kindness and love and transmit energy and breath from your heart, you are simultaneously sending forth and receiving a powerful, non-physical vibration that sustains people all over the world in peace and harmony. I invite you now in this energy of love to say softly aloud the names of people and situations with whom you want to share the vibration of love. And now, when it feels comfortable, allow your attention to return and to animate your body from head to foot. Open your eyes gently as it feels right. You can smile at those with whom we have shared this time of prayer, and share your smile with each one. And so it is.